I think Dallas is going to try to get off to a hot start because Kansas City is not built to play from behind. You know, last week they did it, but that to me is like they don't want to live that way. I worry about this offense. I do. Well,
I'd be very worried. If they can't score on the Bengals, I would be highly, highly alarmed.
It's a concern. It makes them human in every game they play. This is going to be a desperate situation for the Lions, and generally after a loss, they play really well. That didn't happen last week. Do they play really well this week because they should have lost that game in a lot of respects?
This has been the most excited I've been to watch a Cowboys game in a while, just straight up.
All right, we're doing things a little bit differently this week. This is going to serve as the preview show. We're going to hit the Thanksgiving games and the Black Friday game in Philadelphia, and then we will talk just for a minute about some of the matchups on Sunday. Quite frankly, I'm not going to go through each one, and that's okay. I think Saints fans will be okay. I think Falcons fans will be well. We are going to talk about the Falcons briefly, but you know we'll just bounce around the league. I've got my producers in the house. I got Beau Allen here as well, and I wanted to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I'm very thankful for the men that work on this podcast, and I appreciate you bearing with me through all my technological troubles. You guys are the best.
Boomer.
I know. I'm really struggling here today to set my home studio up, but here we are.
That's humbling, though. Like, technology humbles us all.
Dude, I'm such a boomer. I wish I had cable TV still. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
I was thinking that with the whole like YouTube TV, ESPN, debacle a couple weeks ago. I was like, man, just bring cable back. The OG. I don't have to have a million different apps. You never really know. Like, just give me cable.
Simpler times.
How good did it feel though when they slapped the NFL back on the YouTube? They slapped ESPN back on YouTube TV.
Yeah.
It was like when it was like if your parents get in a bad fight and dad leaves for like 5 days.
This house is falling apart. We can't do without him.
We had such a wonderful family, dude. Yeah. YouTube TV was great. Anyways, yeah, Thanksgiving football, Beau. What do you remember?
Dude, first of all, my mom has been getting mad at me lately. She sat me down this week and was basically like, you can't do Blackout Wednesday with your friends. This is a Thanksgiving tradition that I will no longer honor. First of all, she's 100% right. But secondly, the reason I get so excited about Blackout Wednesday is like, you know how it is, Chris. And even in college, we're playing football. In college, we don't really get to experience Thanksgiving. In the NFL, there are a lot of Thanksgiving games we played in. If not, then you're playing on Sunday, so it's a pretty typical practice week. So, like, in retirement, going home and, like, go to the local bar, running into your friends and seeing them and, like, catching up and getting a little carried away, it's kind of a new, fun thing. So, anyway, I'm going out to dinner tonight with my siblings and not allowed to get, pissed drunk like I did last year. Just want to put that on the table. I don't know if that's a thing for you too.
Well, no, it's one of those things that it's one of the sad parts about being a football player is like you miss things like that for your whole life, right? Like all your friends are getting drunk, you're getting drunk texts the night before. For us, it was practice because we never played on a Thanksgiving day. And I always had the FOMO of like my friends are at home doing that thing that everybody talks about. And then you retire and you're too old to do it. That's basically, I'm 40 years old. Like, I'm not going to the bar.
I mean, I'm definitely too old to do it, but that hasn't been stopping me lately.
Now, I did go ride along with a group of buddies who play golf every Thanksgiving yesterday. That's kind of become the thing, but I would love to go to a bar tonight. But I feel kind of bad about going out and getting drunk on my son Luke's birthday. Shout out to Luke. I
saw that shirt.
It's a sweet shirt.
Can we see the whole thing?
Yeah, you can see the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Ooh. Luke and a Smalley. Got that made right in time. But yeah, no, I don't want to get blackout on his birthday. And I need my wits about me tomorrow because I'm frying a turkey. That's the plan.
Dude, that could be precarious.
Yeah. Imagine if I get a terrible grease burn and this podcast goes back to audio.
That might be an improvement for you, for your face.
Maybe so. Maybe
Is
so.
this your first rodeo with the turkey frying, or?
Yeah, solo. I've assisted
Wow.
before, but I'm gonna fry the bird this year. I mean, it's just like baked turkeys are out. Baked turkeys are out. You love a nice baked turkey. You're from the Midwest.
No, I like the fried. Are you going to inject the butter under the skin?
Yeah, I'm gonna inject the butter.
Key part. That's a key part of the process. Get that butter in there.
15-pound bird, 55 minutes.
Nice.
You know, that's it. Now I can't forget. I still, my wife doesn't know I'm frying a turkey yet. That's a thing where, you know, like she should just probably find out
The hard way
in the game.
Moments before.
Yeah, I can't wait
the
to show,
driveway's on fire.
dude. I can't wait to show her baked turkey up. Oh, it's gonna be great. I'm gonna upstage her. She's gonna be so mad.
My mom today, she's cooking in the background. I'm in my dad's office, and I'm trying to figure out where to do the podcast for my parents' house. It's a whole thing. And she's like, well, you can't do the podcast. I'm in the background. I got to cook. She's like, I don't care about your little podcast. This is my Super Bowl. I was like, okay.
She called it a little podcast.
She said something derogatory like that. I was like, Mom, you're our biggest viewer. Like, you need to put some.
Let her stay off the Apple charts.
She's the one shit talking me in the comments all the time.
Okay, good.
But you want to talk some actual football, Chris? Because there are some games tomorrow.
I do want to talk football. I love Thanksgiving games. I think the Detroit Green Bay game is going to be. I mean, this is a huge ball game for Detroit. Who, you know, like Detroit fans, the first week when Green Bay kind of out physicaled them. You know, got the big stops in the red zone. That was a big part of that game. Detroit wasn't very good in the red zone in that game. Actually, Detroit possessed the football, but couldn't beat Green Bay. I think Green Bay ran under 50 plays, and they just came out and they were hitting the verticals. They were hitting the shots. They were working the seam. You know, they got a fair bit of man coverage, and they beat it. And I think when you look at this game, there's a lot that we have to talk about. On both sides of the ball, but one of the themes of this game to me is if Green Bay struggles to run the football, which they did in this first matchup, which has kind of been, you know, an eyesore, the Packers run game this year relative to expectations, then you have to beat press and you have to beat man coverage. And I do think the Packers receivers have an advantage in size. I mean, I know they have a size advantage over some of the guys that are going to play in this football game.
Yeah,
and I think when you look at like Savion Williams, even guys like that who might not factor in so much, they got big bodies. You know, Christian Watson, who's back. You've got Romeo Dobbs, and I think the biggest thing for me is I cannot wait to see what the Packers' offense looks like with Jaden Reed back in. They have not had a run after the catch guy. They have not had, you know, kind of that guy that can win in short areas with route running outside Wicks probably. I think this is going to be a huge thing where he comes back and people are like, oh yeah, he's really fucking good, and he elevates their offense. The Lions need to rush the passer. That's the one thing last week, Beau, and I'm see you nodding. You might have seen the same thing, which is, and Illuminor had some things to say after the game. He did a good job on Aiden Hutchinson.
I agree.
But I also think Kafka did a really good job calling that football game, you know, and throwing a lot at the edges, both edges, but Aiden Hutchinson namely, and limiting the true drop back pass opportunities. He did get some wins. He finished the game strong. I think the big subplot in this game is, can you get to Jordan Love? Because so far they need somebody else to step up front besides Aiden Hutchinson if they want to affect Jordan Love.
Yeah, I agree. And I heard you earlier talking about the Lions defensively playing man and press man and all that kind of stuff. I just want to say, you know, going back, watching that Eagles game when the Eagles played the Lions a couple weeks ago, the Lions actually did a really good job in man and press man against the Eagles, and, you know, and Smitty and A.J. Brown and stuff like that. And they've been a lot better in man coverage than I've been expecting. So we'll see if that kind of continues. And you talked about the edge rush. For me, I think the matchup that I'm most excited about is, you know, the pass rush for the Packers, Micah Parsons, Jeff Hafley, and the Cowboys defense. More specifically, like when you saw the Vikings beat the Lions a couple weeks ago, the Vikings kind of exposed the interior of the Lions offensive line with like a lot of, you know, vintage Flores A-gap pressure and stuff like that. And then last week, against the Vikings, the Packers like had Micah Parsons standing up as like a spinner in that like jack roll, or I don't know what you call it. And he bowled over Ryan Kelly. You got to think that like there's going to be a lot more of that, like late season division games. You kind of know what you're getting on tape. I feel like you're going to see Micah Parsons like kind of ripping the A gap, stuff like that. I think some good creativity from the pass rush. Just talking about the Packers defense and how good they are. That's the
there's a couple things with that side of it, and I think you nailed it. I mean, you mentioned Micah Parsons and him being a floater and picking his spot, and I think we came away from that first game not only saying, "Hey, Micah Parsons is going to matter here in Green Bay," surprise, surprise, but also I felt like it exposed the fact that they let Kenny Clark go, and obviously that wasn't the biggest consideration in making that move. But I think some people said, who were cynical, the Packers are going to take, a step back in their run defense. They're not going to be as physical. And I think what the Packers knew is they've got some guys inside that have stepped up and have developed. And that really showed in that first game between these two groups. And I think the theme of the season offensively for Detroit has been turnover on the interior offensive line. And we said it coming out. Now they're down, a left guard. And I think, coming off a game where Glasgow played probably one of his worst games of the season.
And he's banged up too, Chris. He hasn't practiced this week. And
so you don't know if he's going to play. If he plays, he's not going to be at 100%. I like the Packers in this matchup again because of, and I know we led with the Packers offense, because until Jared Goff looks comfortable working in a pocket that features bodies around his legs, A-gap pressure. I mean, they didn't get killed when it came to pressure rate last week, but he still looked unsettled. It just doesn't look like them in the passing game. Not to mention Amon-Ra St. Brown and him have been off kilter a little bit. He's dropped some football.
Dropping the ball, man. Yeah.
Not having Laporta matters. Jahmyr Gibbs is a one-man band. I'm not saying taking anything away from the other guys, but I will say this. Green Bay is going to be firing on the balls into the flats with him catching the football and rallying to tackle these guys. And I think like when they do play man and they don't do it much, they just have to be careful about dropping him. That's what they did to Saquon in the Eagles game. That was the one big reception they gave up in man coverage. I just think this is a game about physicality for Green Bay. If they can be the more physical team, which is what Detroit's used to being, then they're going to win this game. But the time possession deal is interesting because Detroit, in a game where they possessed the football, had they been better in the red zone, could have walked out of that game and said, hey, we won because we controlled the clock, yada, yada, yada. I think what the Giants did to them defensively last week is concerning. Brian Branch was all over the place, wasn't seeing the field. You had guys in the secondary running around like mad dogs in a meat house. 2 trick plays hit home. You can bet Kelvin Shepard's been up their ass this week. Yeah. They're going to play as
Jay Boo effect, though, Chris. You never know what you're going to get with him, And then Kafka's coming out here dialing up some like Ben Johnson looking plays, and
Kafka's doing a good job. He has done more for his name over the last 2 weeks. I feel like now you take away the call at the end of the game, which Malik Neighbors said, and I'll say the second time, he's like, the inference is that they're tanking at that point in the low red. But like, again, why would Kafka scheme up an open receiver for Jameis Winston to hit? It's there. So I think Kafka's been doing a good job. And that was just a rough day for Detroit. It was Amik Robertson got picked on a little bit in man coverage. This is going to be a desperate situation for the Lions. And generally after a loss, they play really well. That didn't happen last week. Do they play really well this week? Because they should have lost that game in a lot of respects.
Yeah. I think it's wild to kind of, from a macro perspective, look at this game. You got the Packers who are 7-3-1 and the Lions 7-4. I mean, you think of these two teams as kind of the two, the class of the NFC North. You forget that the Bears are 8-3, man, and they're like in the lead, right, for the NFC North. It's wild. Like it just seems like it's like, oh shit, like you forget about it.
Well, maybe we skip ahead to the Black Friday game, but because if you're Chicago, you're watching this game and you're saying, dude, like if the Packers lose this game, we're gonna wake up on Friday morning with everything to play for.
Right.
And the whole world's going to be looking at us, the NFC North world, and it kind of feels like to the general public that they backed their way into this spot. They haven't beaten anybody. They've won a lot of close games, but they're there. The other thing is this, and the last thing I'll say is, since Dan Campbell took over, since OCDC took over, you've got a lot more play action. You know, they started the year hot with the play action. Then they kind of went away from it for a little bit. I think that's been a big feature, a big emphasis for Dan Campbell. And so if you're the Packers, can you time up early down pressures to catch them in play action, to catch Jared Goff when he turns his head? You could see it last week when he booted out a couple times. Brian Burns is right in his face. Yeah. These are the opportunities you're going to have on early downs, and you got to be really good on the back end, discipline, good eyes. Nixon's out. Am I hearing that?
So Nixon is practicing.
Okay.
He was upgraded from he didn't practice yesterday or 2 days ago, and then was upgraded this week. But obviously he left the game in the first quarter last week, so he'll probably be closer to a game time decision. But I think you nailed it, Chris. I think that play action stuff is going to be a big theme for the Packers defense in this game. They've done a great job against play action this season. First in explosive pass rate allowed, first play action, and then sixth in success rate allowed, first play action too. So you guys talked about the Packers being able to generate middle pressure. That'll be key in getting Goff uncomfortable, but they already defend those play action concepts really well, and I think that speaks to the great safety play that the Packers have.
Yeah. Packers got to find a way to run the ball. You know, that's we talk about all this stuff. If they can't run the ball, they were able to pull it off in game one with no rushing attack really to speak of. Will they be able to do it 2 times in a row? I think they have to, because you pointed this out, Nolan. If you run duo against the Detroit Lions, they do a very good job of it.
Really good.
To me, that makes a lot of sense.
Because they say it every day in practice 50 times, man.
Well, no, but here's the deal. When you play the Lions, you have big, stout guys inside, and you have very good backers right behind them. And so that little square there in the middle of the defense is it's something to contend with. And so, like, if you're the Packers, maybe you throw some different run concepts at this group this week. We'll see. This is going to be a great game. Thanksgiving. We couldn't ask for anything better.
We can't forget about, like, we haven't even mentioned Jahmyr Gibbs, man, either, and like how fucking explosive he is. He's a guy that obviously can break this game wide open, dude. He is so good. I just can't. I mean, we talked about him on the Monday show the other day, but it just feels remiss to move on from this conversation and not even mention how big of a factor he is in this game, because he is a stud.
Not to be a dick, I did mention him, but here's the thing about.
Well, I didn't, Chris, and I want to, because I fucking love that guy.
Here's the thing about Jahmyr Gibbs. Watch the 3 explosives from last week. They're frightening. Freeze the frame. Have some fun. Freeze the frame and, at different moments after he touches the ball, and see if you can really, like, looking at that still picture, do you think that player scores if his name's not Jahmyr Gibbs? Is there another player that scores? If you look at the angles and what he does to safeties, is, generally a safety, and I never played safety, obviously, but I would imagine when you think about a run-pass conflict, you think about running backs who I need to get in the box to throw my hat in the ring and help tackle this big son of a bitch or whoever it is.
Reduce space, right?
When you play Derrick Henry, it's about getting down in the box and adding a hat to the run front. When you play Jahmyr Gibbs, you need to be careful screaming down in the box, because your angles get eaten up. You can get caught flat-footed in a different kind of way. I harken back to last year with Saquon Barkley when he was his explosive self. And they were playing in New Orleans, and it might have been Lattimore, and he made a cut at full speed, and Lattimore had no shot. It was like he was running in place. And you see Jahmyr Gibbs do this to people 3-4 times in the ballgame. Last week they played the Giants, who are really bad as support players in the run game. It kind of was the worst case scenario for those big plays. Green Bay's got to be better there. There was a play where on his overtime touchdown, Sewell raises his hand and he's 7 yards down the field. Like, they know he's going to the house. He's the most dangerous player in football. Okay, Kansas City, Dallas. We will get to the next NFC North game in a moment.
Yep.
The Black Friday game. This game, okay, great game there.
This has been the most excited I've been to watch a Cowboys game in a while, just straight up. Like, I don't know. It's something about this game I feel like is going to be – I think it's going to be a high-scoring, fun game.
Here's what it is. This is a must-win for both these teams.
Yeah.
Like a must-win. It is more of a must-win for Dallas. when the home team is the must-win team, now Kansas City is the same thing, the intensity in the building is going to be crazy. You think about like what they're on the cusp of being able to do. Now, Sunday they beat the NFC representative in last year's Super Bowl. They have a chance to beat the AFC representative in last year's Super Bowl, and Jerry Jones is going to have the best Thanksgiving he's ever had because it would appear that he's made the right moves. Okay? Now, being honest, if they lose this game, their chances of making the playoffs plummet to 7%. So, I want to take it with a grain of salt. They're not exactly in position. They have to win this game to stay alive. And that's just the reality of playing in the NFC this year with the depth of the field. And I think the other teams in the NFC playoffs would rather see some of these other teams than Dallas.
Yep.
And I think that's the interesting thing. You're going to have a lot of the country rooting against Dallas, including some of these teams sitting at home and saying, like, we don't want that team to get in. So Chiefs can get their playoff chances up to 73% with a win. They're down at 43% with a loss. This is a major, major swing game, and these two teams have a lot on the line.
Yeah, Noel, I was wondering if you could give us some color on some of the injury situation here. I know there's a short week, man.
Yeah, so the big one for the Chiefs, Trey Smith, likely out this week. We talked about it Monday. He's dealing with both low and high ankle sprains. And then tight end Noah Gray, he was the other player who hasn't practiced this week for them. He remains in concussion protocol from Sunday. And then on the Cowboys side, Tyler Guyton, their left tackle, is likely out this week, which would slot Nate Thomas into the starting lineup as the blindside protector, making his second start.
I mean, it ain't like it's prime Flozell Adams or something like that going down. I mean, so maybe I used the wrong guy. It's not, but it's not. I just remember Flozell Adams because when we played the Cowboys, like my second year, he was playing. I was like, "Holy shit, he's big!" But it's not like Joe Thomas is out of the lineup. Okay, so I think the big injury in this game is Trey. It's Trey Smith, and I think obviously when you think about the Cowboys right now, they go 3 deep as far as like quality defensive tackles. Diggy Zua was great last week, as you mentioned, leading up to this podcast. Obviously Quinnen Williams makes a huge difference, and people forget about Kenny Clark, but he was the throw-in in that deal, and he's helped. And so, when you think about Caliendo playing in this game, it kind of worries you, especially when the other guard spot's a bit of a concern. And when it comes to controlling the clock, because I think for Kansas City, 2 weeks in a row, they're going to take this approach where they're going to play keep away from the other offense. Last week, it was Daniel Jones. This week, it's Dak Prescott, and it makes more sense. It's even 100%. More important, okay?
You don't want them to get as many – you want them to have as few possessions as possible.
Right. Now, here's the problem. Last week, they played 91 plays. You hear people talking about what's it going to be on 3-4 days rest when the Chiefs, who had the ball for 91 plays, are going to take the field offensively. Are they going to be beat up? And I think an offense is less tired than a defense when they take a lot of plays. Like when a defense takes 91 plays, that team's cooked the next week.
Yeah.
I think an offense, because of the nature of the beast, is a little bit less fatigued in this situation, but it's definitely a factor. And I wonder how Andy Reid calls the game with this in mind. I do think Spags' mindset last week was obviously, we said this coming in, we're gonna make Daniel Jones beat us. I think this week they're gonna make Javonte Williams beat him. Okay, and it makes more sense, especially considering you trust your red zone defense. You say make them drive the field, right? I think from a resource allocation standpoint, you have to cover these guys in the back end. Like we're not gonna let Pickens go for 200. I think that's the way Spags is going to do it. You get Pacheco back. That definitely helps you pace the game the way you want to pace it. I think the loss of Pacheco early this year is bigger than people even realize when it comes to this run game. So that's kind of how I see it from Kansas City's mindset standpoint. Play keep away and make the run game beat you. And I think, Javonte Williams, he's going to play a big role. Like, last week, they go down 21 points and they still run the ball 30 times in the game, as opposed to the Eagles. And in that game, they're the more physical unit on both sides of the ball, which is a crazy thing to think about in that matchup. Spags is going to try in spots to heat up Dak Prescott. The blitzes are going to come. Javonte Williams is one of the best fucking pass protectors in the league at that position. He had a bad game last game with Nakobe Dean running down his shit, but he's the guy on this offense that's going to be really important to them when it comes to moving the chains methodically and also keeping Dak Prescott upright is going to be him. I'm looking for him. And in a game like this with the Chiefs, Beau,
The Chiefs.
they do not pressure the quarterback without manufacturing it or Chris Jones making a play.
Yeah, that left tackle injury I don't think is as devastating as it would be for other teams or on other weeks.
That's right.
I think the problem there is like if they were able to get home better with 4, they wouldn't have to blitz and you wouldn't be exposed to these two, pretty elite wide receivers and CD Lamb and George Pickens. Like these dudes are fucking good and they can really stretch you down the field. And so I just can envision a situation in which Spags, who we love his exotic blitzes, they're so productive. I mean, he's one of the great defensive coordinators. I just get scared of exactly what you're talking about, Chris, which is him having to manufacture pressure through blitzing, and when you leave your guys on man because of these blitzes too much on the likes of CD Lamb and George Pickens, if you do that 8 or 9 times a game, they're going to get home on a big play once or twice. And you think it's going to hurt you at some point.
There's an implied risk in doing this, but also I think he's going to play zone behind a lot of these pressures, and I think he's going to set traps.
That's what I'm excited to see, that little cat and mouse game with Spags. When is he going to play zone? When is he going to, fake blitz? When is he going to bring everybody? That kind of thing I think I'll be enjoying watching with some.
A lot of times you watch Spags' defense, they have one thing they do in the first half, one thing they do in the second half. Like as the game goes on, it's like here the pressure comes, or it's early on, and then they sit back and play zone or what have you. I think Dallas is going to try to get off to a hot start because Kansas City is not built to play from behind. Last week they did it, but that to me is like they don't want to live that way. Mm-hmm. So I think Dallas is going to try to get off to a hot start. Kansas City is going to try to possess the football. I think both these receiving cores have advantages over the secondaries. I think that's an obvious one, especially when you look at the secondary in Dallas. Like you can find your matchups
outside of Bland. It's tough.
But I think the point is there's 2 things. I want to bring up the pass rush one more time because I think the interesting thing about not having a pass rush for Kansas City is they've kind of skated in the AFC. All these AFC elite teams have struck out finding rushers over the last 5 years. Really, think about it. The Ravens find themselves chasing the dragon, trying to, make some patchwork trade for this player or that player. You've got the Bills, who we know that well, like they've had trouble getting pressure on the quarterback over the years. Indy has a really good interior, but I don't think they're great outside. You can go around the conference.
I mean, my only counter argument would be the
Denver. Yeah, but Denver wasn't in that elite group until this year. They're in this elite group this year because of that group. That is their superpower. So I think it's interesting to me on a macro level that like Kansas City has not been able to find that rusher out on the edge. And really nobody in the AFC has. Like all the rushers are in the NFC or on bad AFC teams or middling AFC teams. Just an interesting deal. And then on top of that, I'm wondering,
Chris, just to interrupt you real quick, if they, we've seen Chris Jones bump out and edge rush, with that injury to the left tackle, if we see that happen a little bit more. And I've been critical of Chris Jones at times, especially after the Jaguars game. I think we all kind of were. He had played really well last week. He had some really, really good rushes. So I think that could be a good way for them to get some more rush too, is to, bump him out. Over that left tackle. Who'd you say the new guy is? Nate Thomas.
Nate Thomas, yeah. I would think. I mean, you have to think every third down that backup left tackle, he's going to see Chris Jones, he's going to see Karlaftis, or he's going to see one of those slot blitzes that you guys were talking about that Spags always dialing up.
The other thing is this. This game is going to come down to which secondary stays clean. I really do think it's Dallas and Kansas City, so obviously you're going to end up with calls that nobody's going to like. And at the end of the game, somebody's going to, hey, nobody wanted. They were rooting for Dallas. They were rooting for Kansas City. So just do me a favor and let's get this straight. Who is the NFL rooting for going into this game so we know and the story doesn't change? But I do think there will be some big flags in this game.
I think so.
And I think the big flags are going to come from a very specific thing. Okay, you have advantages outside. And you also have 2 quarterbacks that can extend plays. and more so Kansas City, in that like Mahomes is going to have to make plays late and down, right? They always do. And they shred zone. Eberflus is going to sit back and play zone. But let's say plays get extended. I think the battle between second level defenders taking the cheese on Mahomes breaking the pocket, right? Taking the cheese on him scrambling and pulling off coverage up onto him and making the plays behind coverage. And then also, how disciplined can you be late in downs not to get grabby? Okay, Dallas is going to take shots. They're going to take shots to Pickens. They're going to feed Lamb to try to get him back on track because he got stone hands last week. Okay, so some of these shots are going to end up like 50-50 balls, and we all know Pickens wins them. So can you be clean in these situations? And then for Dallas's secondary, can you be clean as the down extends, because Mahomes is going to extend downs? And can you rush him smart? Is Overshown going to be the spy, in some spots? Because that's going to be a really interesting matchup if we do see that. So this is
what you're saying, Chris, is on those situations where it looks like Mahomes could scramble, don't take the cheese versus the Chiefs.
Yeah, don't take the cheese versus the cheese, brother.
Yeah, I follow.
Don't do that, because it's down in distance. It's situational, right? If it's 3rd and 3, you might be a flat defender having to come play Mahomes and they're going to hit the crosser behind you late in the down. It is what it is. But, if it's 3rd and 18, if it's 3rd and 11, and you've got zone eyes, which should help you play the quarterback, right? Because we always talk about man coverage. You get your back turned to the quarterback. Then in that scenario, you just got to be disciplined and know where the sticks are, right? And if he does decide to scramble, funnel him into the field and get your fucking shots on him.
Yeah.
That's the way you got to play this guy. So I think the Cowboys, though, they're a different team than in the past, Beau. No,
they're really coming into their own, man. I mean, it's, the Eagles lost. Like, you got to be impressed with a team that comes back from, down 21 points, and they're pretty electric to watch offensively. Like, is there a receiver that's more fun to watch than George Pickens? Like, you don't really know what he's going to do, man. And he's obviously an elite talent. And then, I just have such an appreciation for the interior of their defensive line. They've got 3 really good guys. I've long admired Kenny Clark, and he's kind of playing third fiddle a little bit on this defense, but I like all those guys too. And Quinnen Williams, as nasty as he looks in number 92, like, he seems like a great fit there. I do have one thing I want to comment on. You talked about, the Chiefs needing to possess the ball and really kind of control the game and game manage this. I am interested to see how they do that with Noah Gray being down. Obviously, they're going to be in more 11 personnel, and kind of wondering, like, is Andy Reid gonna just like dink and dunk a little bit? Is he gonna run a lot of his screen stuff? Is he gonna try to spread them out? And then, they play all that cover 2, so pretty light box, spread them out in 11 personnel and like rip some, some inside zone, like kind of runs. I'm excited to see that. Like, I'm envisioning, like, Kelsey or a tight end, a Y removed, super light box. And then them kind of making some hay with that and controlling the game. I think, we talked about the chess matchup with Spags and with the Cowboys and all that, but I think that'll be a really fun one to watch too, is just how the Chiefs and Andy Reid control the game with kind of lighter personnel, I guess.
Well, you talk about scheme. I think this is a huge opportunity for Dallas to prove, whether it's Eberflus or it's Shoddy, I think Shoddy's had a really good year. Now, they're on a short week facing 2 coaching legends, okay? Spags and Andy Reid. And so I think this is just a huge inflection point for the franchise, for this version of the team. Like, can they out-scheme these guys on a short week? Like, we'll see. And the thing I was going to say about the Cowboys, that forced fumble last week on kick coverage where Sidney Brown is just punking the gunner.
Yeah.
And he's doing barrel rolls, and he gets up and he sprints down the field and he takes the ball off the returner. Like, that hustle, that grit, the things I saw from that Cowboys team in that game, and at times throughout the season this year, it does differentiate them a little bit culturally from their predecessors. I think this group is a little bit different of a group. Now, they're fully formed now, 10 games in the season, 12 games in the season. can they do enough late in the down, so to speak, to get into the dance? If they can get in the dance, they're dangerous. But they seem like they're building something. They're doing something the right way, it feels like, for once. And for us who jumped all over Jerry for making the trade, it turns out that they're in the hunt at the very least, and they do look better than they did a couple months ago to me. So
absolutely,
this is a big one, man. This is huge.
Before we jump here, I want to ask you guys you made the note at the start about how many plays the Chiefs offense had this past week. Controlling for like number of snaps played, how did you guys feel on average when you would have those Thursday games? Like, I don't know if there's a way you could say like I felt like this percentage of what I felt come Sunday, or like how big of that effect is it?
I think it's so situational. It's so dependent on kind of where you get in the season, what your health is individually. Like there were years where I loved it because it felt like such a lighter week of practice. Obviously, a much more mental week. Because you don't have the same regular cadence of a typical game week prep. But we talked a little bit a couple weeks ago on a Monday show, I think, Chris, about that Thursday night game against the Carolina Panthers.
Ooh, that was physical.
That's the worst I've ever felt in the game, man. Like that game and then the Cole game against the Cowboys, and I think it was New Year's Eve of 2017.
Oh, yeah, that wasn't great.
Those were probably two of the games where I was out there. I had a foot injury during that Thursday night game, and I didn't even really think I was going to play. I remember they worked me out on the field before the game, and I was like, oh, shit. I remember how he literally like fist bumped me, like, let's fucking go. I didn't even think I was going to play. And you just feel like shit sometimes during those games, man. But then you never know, because I don't know about you, Chris, but there's some games where I felt great during the week, and then Sunday rolls around, and I felt terrible,
Yeah.
So it's kind of a
it's a crapshoot. It can kind of be that feeling like if you catch a thigh bruise or something, like, it's still like super tender and raw by Thursday. Like usually, here's the best way I can describe it. For an NFL player, you feel like dog shit all week. You stop practicing on Friday. You still feel like dog shit. Friday night, you scramble to get your body ready. Saturday, you sit around the hotel, travel, what have you. You feel shitty. At night, you start to feel like, oh, I feel okay, but like I'm still like a little tight. And then Sunday, you wake up and you take Toradol. So like you really do just get ready right on time in a 7-day week. Like that's honestly the minimum for me. The only saving grace, on a Thursday is that the other team is feeling it too. And I think in this game, the interesting thing will be what you mentioned again, Nolan, which is that Kansas City took 91 plays. But I do think there's a difference between offense and defense.
I agree. That's a really good point, Chris. Like, I don't think a lot of people realize that. I always used to shit talk offensive linemen and say, like, how easy it was. And then they're like, well, we're on the field for every snap. You guys are rotating out. It's different, man. Your defense, you're reacting. I think when you're offense, like, dude, you're telling me a boot. If you're an offensive lineman on a boot, you're not running that with the same sort of intensity as an outside zone.
You're just breathing down your buddy's neck, and
I think it's an outside zone. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm a white nose guard. I'm sprinting my ass off as hard as I can every single ball, just trying to get assisted tackle. These O linemen are shutting it down after 2.5 seconds.
The O linemen are backpedaling. They're looking busy.
Argument as old as time. Yeah, exactly. They're just out there just,
Are they smarter? Yeah, they're smarter. You guys got it. You're smarter.
Yeah.
But when's the last time you saw your dicks?
Good point. Good point.
Okay.
No, that's got to get in there. Absolutely. It's like a button in a fur coat.
Yeah. You guys got a Monopoly thimble down there.
Yeah, exactly. Not us. We got some hogs. We're defensive line. We got big dicks.
Yeah, okay.
My parents on the podcast like, what the fuck?
It was more of a build joke than
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of builds, Gronk was talking about how much he liked lifting weights this weekend. He was always so impressed with your workout regimen.
Dude, he'll come into the gym and I'll be like doing my ego lifting bullshit. I'll have like 500 pounds on my back and he'll get like right in my face and be like fucking with me. And I'm like, brother, like get the fuck out of here.
Ego lifting?
I mean, it is. Yeah. It's ego.
Really?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big of you to admit that.
I'm, many things. Self-aware is one of them, Chris. I know what I'm doing. It's stupid.
With some of these Instagram posts where you're like, you're full depth.
See, we call those thirst traps.
Thirst traps. I don't
Ego
want.
lifting. It's an intersection of ego lifting and thirst trapping. Yeah.
What kind of thirst are you trapping though with shots to your ass?
See, a lot of people think I got accused by my girlfriend of like doing that for the girls, but no, it's for the boys. It's for it's for people who hit me up that I played with that are like, why are you doing this? There's absolutely no need to do this. I'm like, yes, exactly.
Yeah, I'm impressive. I'm still impressive.
Yeah, still got it.
Um,
And then every now and then someone messages me like, oh, you could take a couple snaps. I'm like, yeah, I definitely could. Absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about the last game of the night briefly, at the very least, because unfortunately for Cincinnati and Joe Burrow's coming back, like I don't think it really matters what happens. If they won out, could they get in the playoffs? Sure, and boy, would that be a fun story. But
That'd be wild.
it's just hard to see it happening now. I was pretty impressed with the way the defense played last week, considering. I mean, some of those red zone goal line stands, pretty impressive. They're still missing Trey Hendrickson. Like, I listen, okay, this is a quote I want to read you from Joe Burrow, and I think this is the most interesting thing about the whole thing, and I don't think I'm making something up here. They asked him about Thanksgiving, like, did you grow up watching Thanksgiving games? And he said, and I just think it's an interesting thing to be top of mind for him. He goes, typically there's not a lot on except football. Back in the day, it was Lions and somebody. You go watch Matthew Stafford throw for 300 or 400 yards with Calvin Johnson and then probably lose the game. He said, those are memories you have, and I always wanted to be the person out there. I mean, it's an innocuous like description of what his Thanksgivings were like, but
yeah,
I was watching and thinking, like, are you Matt Stafford in your own head? Like honestly, it tracks. You know, he's had more team success. I think to this point in his career, you know, he's got the reputation over Matt Stafford at that juncture in his career, but like there is a parallel in like the wasting of somebody's window. And for Stafford, who's probably on the cusp of, I mean, I know he's on the cusp of competing for another one and probably winning MVP this year.
Yeah.
It makes you think about the clock. It makes you think about Joe Burrow's clock and kind of flies in the face of playing him at all to finish the season. But, you know, the Bengals are at a crossroads where I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in the very near future, people are at least like hitting on him. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like
flirting with the possibility of him going elsewhere.
Yeah, like somebody's going to send them something just to be like, you know, akin to DMing like Dua Lipa. You know,
just shoot your shot.
You don't know unless you ask.
Yeah, I thought I'd ask.
Yeah,
you know, and I don't know. Cincinnati would never.
DMing Dua Lipa?
No, Cincinnati would never, and nor would I, because I'm married. But Cincinnati is going to waste this guy's window, and this is just,
yeah.
I mean, it's not a hot take. It's just I thought that quote was very interesting.
I agree. I just think
very interesting.
It is, and I mean,
I'm kind of reading into it a lot, but
I like it. I mean, there are a lot of parallels there, and then I think if you look at Matt Stafford and the career he's having, he's 38 years old, and he's having one of the, I think probably the best career or the best season of his career. I mean, that can kind of give you hope too. Like, hey, buddy, like you never know when it's going to come. You never know when you're going to have the pieces kind of fall together and have that talent around you. Come on, Joe. Like, might be elsewhere. Might be in 10 years. I don't know.
And you guys brought this up, but I think one of the teams in the hunt would be Stafford's team if he does retire.
That'd be awesome.
It's just, and I heard this somewhere. Okay, I didn't make this up. Like when I heard the rumor that like, hey, you know, they might be pursuing him after the season or something, I was like, man, that's some wild shit. Like it's akin to DMing, you know, Dua Lipa. But you never know.
Marriage there though, I would love to see that.
The Rams have $94 million in cap space and next year 2 first-round draft picks and 4 first-round draft picks between 2026 and 2028.
Man,
and a GM known to say "fuck them picks."
Yeah, it might be time to do that again. Yeah. Might be time to do that. Okay, so he's a Bengal,
dude. You got me hyped about that. I mean,
well, that'd be sick.
You think so?
But
Joe Burrow in LA.
midnight, thinking about Joey Cool in LA.
Yeah, dude.
Woo!
Yeah. All right. So he's a Bengal for now, and I'm not putting him on another team next year. I'm just saying that's a fucking, when you think about it, it makes you a little bit sad because the clock is ticking, dude. He's been in the league a while now. Okay.
Are we sorry? Before we continue talking about this game, are we absolutely certain that he's playing? I mean, I saw a quote that he really wants to play. And it seems
he's
like
gonna play.
This is it, the debut on Thanksgiving.
Yep.
This is and
I respect it. I mean, he wants to play football. You know, that's kind of the vibe I get from him.
dude, you got to respect it. This is the way we are. Football players are. You know, you got to take the helmet from the guy if you don't want him to play.
Yeah.
And if you're the Bengals, I guess you have to sell tickets. You know, like the rest of the season. But I think the good thing for Joe in this game is this is like the clean pocket bowl. This team has a combined 33. These teams have a combined 33 sacks.
Yeah.
Okay. Like you could play this game and stay totally clean. You know, Baltimore's defense has improved a lot. Obviously, we've talked about it at length since the bye, since Kyle Hamilton made his move, since Gilman showed up. They've been a lot better. I think I'm most interested in Baltimore's offense because they do not look good. And you know, you look at that game last week. They're sitting there at the half with one score, basically. I don't remember what the score was at the half, but it wasn't pretty. They look like they're stuck in the mud. They look slow. The offense looks slow. And the most dynamic part of their offense is that quarterback. Okay, Lamar's fantastic. We know it.
Derrick Henry's pretty dynamic too.
No, but not.
It's like kinetic energy versus potential energy kind of thing, you know?
I understand. But Lamar Jackson, I can kind of explain away Derrick Henry not having the kind of year that he's accustomed to having because the offensive line's been pretty poor. You know, it's not a great group up front. He's also, Derrick Henry is 30 years old, right? You know, at some point, he's not going to run for 2K every year, basically, is what I'm saying. Lamar Jackson should still look like Lamar Jackson. Physically, he hasn't this year. And we know it's because of injuries, at least in part. But you watch that game, you know, do the same freeze frame thing I was doing with Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah. I was freezing the film in certain spots, and I wish I had just screenshot it because I can show you frozen film. But, like, guess the outcome of the play. You've got Lamar Jackson. You got a post safety who's coming down to support a scramble. You've got a half field concept over here, and there's the pylon in the post field safety or a linebacker. In the past, you freeze that and you guess touchdown or you guess 20-yard run. It's not happening right now. And you know, it's obviously injuries have a lot to do with that. But I think, you know, teams aren't afraid to man up Baltimore.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, you might be afraid in certain situations to man them up in the past because of the quarterback's legs. I think you can take that off the list right now. And 23, I think he had 72 scrambles. 2024, 42 scrambles. 2025, I think he's only got 24.
Yeah.
You know, so that's been a big part of what they do. Obviously, he's a pocket passer, but there's, you know, he's not hurting people the same way when he tucks and runs it, and he's taking more big hits. He's taking
more hits than any other QB.
Yes, but also like when he tucks it and runs it, like in the past, because of his mobility, because of how he's seeing the field, like he can get out of bounds, he can avoid the hit. Now he's taking tackles, dude.
Yeah.
And the red zone rate has been cut in half. I think also another thing that hasn't been good, it jumps off the screen when you watch him on film is, you know, their RPO game's not great, but the screen game is much worse than last year. They went from like a middle of the pack screen team to bottom, you know, a bottom 3, bottom 4 screen team. So you watch that on film and like the answers are so they're disjointed for them. You know, they're not in a flow. And so I worry about this offense. I do. Like,
well, I'd be very worried if they can't score on the Bengals. I would be highly, highly alarmed.
That's a concern.
Yeah.
It makes them human in every game they play.
Yep.
You know, which to me it's tough because, you know, the other teams that are spotty offensively, they have really elite defenses. And while Baltimore's been better on defense, like since they made those moves, like I don't put them in the class of Denver. I don't put them in the class of Philly. I don't put them in the class of, you know, I don't know, go around the league. You know, it's I don't put them in the class of Green Bay. So when your offense takes a half off, and we've seen it the last 2 weeks against the likes of the Browns and the Jets, it's a bad deal. So
Yeah.
I think for Baltimore, you want to see the offense look a lot better this Thursday. And you got to keep the points down because this could end up being a tight football game if you can't score.
Yeah.
And just to follow up to your point about man coverage, Chris, that the Ravens have faced, they've faced the third most man coverage this season. That's really interesting.
It is interesting. And I saw that and look back at the last couple of years, teams play more man against them than you'd think.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, it's just when you watch, you're like, no wonder.
Is that because of
like,
Lamar, though? Because that's immediately
I think
where
it's the receivers. I think it's the personnel groupings they use in the receivers.
I just feel like you don't want to play with zone eyes, against Lamar, and you want to have a little bit more people in the box and then even a spy on him, which means man to me.
I think it'd be interesting, and maybe Nolan, you can do this while we're finishing, but to sort for third downs. Because when you see them in the field and they're in 22 personnel or 12 personnel in these condensed formations or what have you, and you're in man for whatever reason, but in those must pass situations, I kind of wonder if there has been an uptick because of what we're all seeing on film.
On third downs this season, they're seeing 42% man coverage, which is a top 10 rate. Yeah, that's really high. Yep.
So that to me is the true tell, and it does tell a story.
Yeah.
Okay. So not the God, you wish this game was 2 7-win teams because this would be an incredible Thanksgiving lineup. I'm going back. I don't think we've had a lineup like this in a couple of years. I mean, this is
the games last year were awful. I feel like most of what we talked about last year, on like our Friday show was, you remember like the game management debacle at the end of the Lions game?
It was Chicago and Detroit.
That was a fiasco.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Absolutely.
And that wasn't that the previous week was the Hail Mary loss for the Bears?
That was actually
that was like right as we were sitting down for Thanksgiving dinner, and I was like, okay, like they're gonna be in good shape. And then go sat down, all of a sudden my phone starts blowing up from our group chat, and then just being like, oh my God, what? Man, I forgot.
It was like inconceivable. That was the birth of the chief among them line because we were talking about timeout usage. It was like, well, the purpose of the timeout, chief among them, is to stop the clock.
Stop the clock. Stop the clock. If you can stop the clock, you got a shot.
The other Nolanism I've been picking up on a lot lately is canary in the coal mine. I said that like IRL, and I felt
that's a Chris line. Chris uses that a lot. I've borrowed that from him.
I don't know where I picked that up, but it's a mining term. So we've got we looking back at the Thanksgiving games the last couple of years. I mean, I remember the Detroit Buffalo game was really good, but this has like been 3 or 4 years. And if you weren't a Bears fan, that one was a pretty good one that ended with the Lions win and the clock debacle.
That's pathetic. I think I was in my 6th year in the NFL after playing in both Dallas and Detroit. And that's when I realized that the Lions and Cowboys always have Thanksgiving games.
Yes, they do.
I didn't know that while playing, and I played at both those places.
They always do. They always do.
Yeah. I was like, wow, Detroit's got another one, huh? That's interesting.
Yeah. What they have on the commissioner. But so that'll be a fun day. And then we've got Chicago Philly on Friday, which I think is a really interesting game. I think it's interesting for a couple of reasons. Like, number one, the Eagles are a 3-loss team. They're not a bad team. They're a very good team, but they haven't played to their standard. And so every week's going to be like this, where you're kind of on the edge of your seat and there's pressure on the Eagles to perform. Yeah. And I think Chicago can kind of come into this game with a, hey, none to lose situation about it, where, we are near the top of the table in the NFC North, and with a win, who knows? And, we haven't played our best ball all the time this year, but we're in the building phase. Like, the Eagles are in the phase where they just won a Super Bowl. And so they need to be better. They know they need to be better. But for Chicago, they're kind of happy to be here. I know Ben's not going to put it that way. Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, they're not going to put it that way. But, like, they're in the building phase. They're ahead of schedule. So it's a 7-point line. I think it's a lot of points. It kind of makes you wonder, why that line's so big. And I think if I had to guess, it's because of the advantages that Philly probably has outside the numbers. I think that's the one thing. Now, Jalen Johnson's coming back, which is big.
That to me, Chris, is like I was surprised by that line, and I wonder if that was like, does Vegas know
that he's not playing?
Bears corners aren't back yet. Yeah, Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon are both practicing, but their game status hasn't yet been declared. So,
and I think that's the key. If Jalen Johnson can play and Gordon can play, and they've gotten good nickel play out of C.J. Gardner-Johnson,
yeah, they have.
Who boy,
revenge game.
Different times the Eagles, well, they really don't need a nickel; they need a corner. So, but I look at this injury sheet, and I'm kind of like, man, that's the epicenter. And for me, what happens outside for them, you could have a big advantage. You also have an advantage in the run game if you could run the ball, and neither of these teams fit up outside zone well. So it might be who can get on the edge of the defense the best. But I also think, like, with the injuries to the Bears linebacking core, you should run some, especially if they're going to sit back and play zone in some spots in this game. You should run some gap scheme stuff. You should definitely be running counter and power. These guys won't be able to fit that up as well. If you're just going to line up and run inside zone and not be creative, then I don't know what to tell you. But I think quietly, the fucking Bears have had two of the best coordinators in the league, in my opinion, this season, because Ben Johnson, this is a very interesting stat here. The Bears have allowed 17 sacks this year. That's fourth in the league. Coming from where they were last year, that's unbelievable. And then the Eagles are 27 sacks on the year. That's 17th in the league. So that stat right there is crazy to me. That's all Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, right?
Yeah.
But I also think an interesting one for the Bears defense is they've been one of the best third down teams in the league, and they don't hit the quarterback. And that to me is like, Dennis Allen's doing a great job. These coaches are doing a great job. And I think at times you look at Chicago's defense, you're like, they're undermanned. They don't have great corners. They don't have any pass rush. Now, last week they're down basically 3 linebackers. They find ways to win. The team is gritty, and I don't know if physically they're going to be outmatched. We'll find out on the field, but it's a gritty team, and it will be a tough test for the Eagles, who are missing guys. Makuba broke his ankle. Sidney Brown is going to get tested. Okay. Adoree was full go. Okay. So I think the middle of the field for the Eagles defense is going to be a big one, right? Our favorite throws that Caleb makes is when he rips an in cut. He looks as good as anybody. When he rips an in cut or when he breaks the pocket and throws right on the sideline, those are my favorite 2 throws he makes.
Yeah.
Not a great accurate deep ball thrower just yet. So I think the middle of the field is really hotly contested real estate in this matchup for the Bears offense. And the Eagles have to be able to run the football. You can't just win outside. You've got to be able to run the football.
And I think just going back to the Eagles, like, they've struggled to run the football. I've been kind of talking about that all season. I think it's a really good opportunity for them to kind of GBOT with their run game, get back on track. And mentioned this on Monday, but the first half of the Cowboys game, you saw a lot of design, or not a lot. You saw a little more design quarterback run from Jalen. I would like to see a little bit more of that. I think that is a really good way to kind of add an extra number to the box, that could be fun to see on Black Fridays, especially in the red zone. Like, you see that a lot. Obviously, he's known to keep the ball in the tush push. Talked about that empty quarterback draw where he called his own number last week. But even, like, I don't know, some I think you can get a little creative with Jalen Hurts in the run game and against a depleted, linebacking core for the Bears. It could be a good way to just feel good about the run game for the first time in a while. I'd like to see that.
Well, I also think some of these RPOs that they're little like flat RPOs or what have you, where
you can really put linebackers in a bind with that RPO, man, especially like a group who hasn't seen as much action,
No question. I think that could be a wrinkle in this game because, when you hear Andy Reid talk about, hey, your team hasn't been able to run the ball, he'll answer at the podium. He's like, listen, a lot of our RPOs and screens are like the run game.
Exactly.
So, the Eagles need to get the most out of those areas. And I think that could be, little glance RPOs where you're putting people in conflict. To me,
slant with the RPO, but I don't, I don't know.
You have to make quick decisions. You have to make quick decisions.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
another injury to watch. We talked about the Bears corners on the other side of that. Devontae Smith did not practice Tuesday, chest and shoulder injuries. So
It's so funny with him. Like, he's such a slight person, but
It's tough.
when I see him on the injury report, I'm like, he'll play.
Yeah.
Like, I just think he's so fucking tough. He's just such a dog.
He's got that Mick Jagger build, just tough as nails, gonna play forever, and not as much meat on the bones as guys like me and you.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You know what I got a lot of?
You
know what I got a lot of this weekend, and nobody ever really means this. They just mean you're not out of shape. A lot of like pat on the shoulder. Hey, look like you could still play.
That's the best, dude.
Doesn't that feel good?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, AD ranked me the second most jacked guy in our group.
Whoa.
Behind
Behind
him.
who? Behind him? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna lose that one.
Yeah. Exactly.
But that was, and then I saw a rumor. Is the internet rumor that he might come back for a playoff run. That's the rumor being thrown around.
Dude, he's like one of those guys where, like, I don't care how long he's out of the league. I feel like he doesn't need it. He could just wrap it up on Sunday,
I know he could go get 2 buckets this weekend.
Yeah.
And maybe that explains why they didn't retire the jersey yet.
Just keeping it warm for him.
Yo, that's really true. Noel, you're right, because you know what's so funny about this whole thing? Me, Will, and Rob obviously got Aaron hit us up, our little group text. Hey, I'm gonna need y'all boys in LA.
I've been meaning to ask you this before. What does he text like? You know what I mean? Like,
totally normal.
Really?
Yeah,
I
totally.
can see him texting in like some sort of Cam Newton style.
No, dude. AD is the most normal superstar of all time.
I fucking
He's
love
just so. The only thing abnormal about him is he could crush your head like a grape. he's
like, does he use emojis? That's kind of what I want to know.
No, I mean, like,
I could see him using a lot of.
I think he might have hearted a text the other day. That's
cool.
not. That's a little surprising, right?
Yeah,
that's human.
I don't want to say that without it being true, though. Let me look back.
But you were talking about, you're like, for some reason, like the concept, you're like, yeah, AD texted us in a group chat and says to come out there. And like, all I could think about is like the thought of him texting.
What did he say?
Oh, I got a strong. We got a strong a muscle and a prayer emoji.
Nice.
This weekend. So yeah, AD was hyped to have us there, but like, here's the point. This Thanksgiving, BetMGM is serving up more than turkey and stuffing. They're dishing out extra winnings with the Pro Football Pack. Here's how you can feast on the fun. Log into your BetMGM account and grab your boost pack. Place any pro football bet and apply one of your special tokens. If your boosted bet hits, you'll carve out a bigger payout, the perfect side dish to your holiday celebration. And if you haven't joined the BetMGM family yet, now's the time to pull up a chair at the table. Use bonus code GREENLIGHT, and you'll enjoy up to a $1,500 new player offer on your first wager. So while you're passing the mashed potatoes and cheering on the game, make sure you're also boosting your bets with BetMGM. BetMGM, make it legendary. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical, underage sale prohibited. It's also a chemical that got me through this weekend on the West Coast being tired as fuck. So thank you, Zone. Y'all know I'm a bit more selective about my nicotine pouches. I have cut down greatly since quitting dip. So it doesn't take much for me. I just kind of pop one in when I need to really crunch on some tape, or, I can't drink coffee. I'm one of those people. So for me, this really works. And they got the wintergreen flavor, which is good because that kind of reminds me of what I used to do, which was the bear. We don't do that anymore. 6 milligrams, all I need, whether I'm kicking back and watching ball on a Sunday, floating on the river with Cowboy and the rest of the crew breaking down film ahead of the show. Zone gets me locked in. Smooth variety of flavors, always on my game day roster. Whether you like a fresh mint flavor or you're into citrus, check out their roster of options. Use promo code GL20 at nickokick.com/zone for 20% off at checkout. And the weekly reminder, if you are under 21, just don't, make that decision when you're old like me. So we're all like, hey, AD's like, hey, I'm gonna need you here in LA. And we're all like, oh, it's a big deal. They're gonna like lower the statue. There's gonna be like sparklers, nightclubs. It's gonna be incredible. And they're gonna hang his jersey in the rafters. And we get there and like we're like me, Rob, and Will are in the backyard of our Airbnb, and we're like, "Yo, why are we here?" we're like, so it's an AD celebration weekend, which is Foundation did a great job Friday night. Actually, at the Foundation dinner, there was like a live auction, and it was for this artist who paints paintings in 10 minutes, and he painted this really cool painting of AD like upside down, and then flipped it over, and everybody was like, "Woo, it's AD!" And a helmet, and like the whole thing. So I'm bidding on this thing because I want to try to help drive the prices up on a live auction. I've had live auctions at my charity. AD's the next table over. We get to like say $50, right? Some arbitrary number. AD's like, I want to do 55. And I'm like,
he's bidding you up.
Like, do I bid AD?
Yeah.
And
a photo of himself. That's hilarious.
At his own event.
We're like on the we're on the home stretch. Like I might win this thing.
Yeah. And
I'm like, man, I need to stop. Like, but AD turns and goes, I want this. And he goes, I'll do $65. And he go, oh, you want this? And for a split second, I saw the rookie AD.
Yeah.
In my head. And I go, $70. And his face for a second, I was like, oh fuck, did I piss hair off? Yeah. And then so I had this beautiful painting of AD that I don't really know what I'm gonna do with, right? I don't want to put it up like in my house, like as a
put it in the studio, dude.
I'm put in the studio, I think.
Hell yeah.
So anyways, we go up and take a picture next to it, and I'm like, damn, is he mad? Like, did AD get mad because like he wanted this painting real bad? So the next night at dinner, I roll up and I'm like, yo, Aaron, I'm like, I'll sell it back to you. And he's like, what do you mean you sell it back to me? You don't want it? And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, no. And he goes, no, you keep it. And I'm like, oh, damn. And I'm like kind of confused. He goes, you look disappointed. I'm like, dude, I love the painting. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that you were happy. But anyways, right down to the damn game, we're all sitting there fucking like in a circle, like, are they retiring this motherfucker's number or what?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? We're asking him at dinner the night before he's playing coy. Todd Gurley explained during the game Sunday, he goes, they're not going to retire his jersey because the Chargers also share this facility. And if they start hanging banners, then the Chargers hang banners too. He's like, you can't put a statue outside the facility. This is a super interesting thing. Yeah. But y'all, the thing that we've stumbled upon talking about, which is that Aaron Donald could come back, makes a lot more sense to me. I kind of like this theory.
I like that too. Plus, like, let's fan the flames on this and hopefully get that fire roaring because I want to see him fucking play.
He didn't tell me shit. Didn't tell me shit. When I asked him the night before, they retire in Jersey, and he was like, nah, I didn't believe him because he plays so coy and humble about everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, he could still play for sure. I mean, he can still play. Okay, so anyways, let's talk about Sunday. Just real quick before we get out of here, I again, I'm sorry. I just want to level with our fans. Like, I am on the cusp of not doing every game each preview show. It's just driving me insane having to break down that much football ahead of a show every week. And it takes away from some of the main breakdowns, some of the bigger games. So if you don't hear your team call it out, I'm sorry, it's not personal. I hope you'll come back.
Well, I don't think it's a super compelling slate either. If I'm being honest with you, like I'm more excited about the games on Thanksgiving just because of the nature of Thanksgiving. And also, frankly, I think they're better games. So there's only like 2 or 3 in here that I think are really piquing my interest.
Well, it's kind of like people on Mondays sometimes will be like, you guys really half-assed that breakdown of the Saints. I'm like, dude, I don't know what you want me to do. 2 p.m. is the live show. I can't watch every game by 2 p.m. Right. Unless I sleep 3 hours at night, and I'm not going to do that.
We're in that point of the season too, where not every game is incredibly significant in terms of playoff standings and things.
Yes.
Hey man, the NFL is a meritocracy. You got to earn the right to be broken down.
yeah, exactly.
Where this show is going to become a fucking.
You want Noel to crunch your tape? You better fucking play well. All right.
You better play well enough for us to actually hit your game. So. Anyways, this Sunday, I think Bills Steelers is interesting. So I think up front, the question is, are the Bills healthy coming off last week where, they weren't at full strength and they look like shit and the Texans got after them. I think this is less of a challenge for the group. And I also think they can run the football. Steelers man coverage team, you got to be careful there with Josh Allen. I think the defense for the Bills can hold up, but they have to sell out to stop, the run a little bit in this game. And, the thing I worry about off of that, though, is, again, back to these RPOs. If Aaron Rodgers is playing, last week it didn't make much of a difference, in my opinion. In this game, I think it does because of the way that he's going to be able to get to quick game, get to the RPOs. Like, to me, I would, considering I figure these backers who haven't played great in space this year are going to be screaming downhill to try to stop the run. You can pop RPOs behind them, play action, that sort of thing. Like, I think the Bills defense will be aggressive this week. I think they'll be downhill. And Rodgers playing will matter in that equation. If he doesn't play, I really like the Bills. You got to set edges. I kind of worry about that with Rousseau and some of these guys on the outside. Those downhill cutbacks against outside zone are what I worry about.
That's why they have all that mass on the front side of all their YY stuff with big old Washington,
That's exactly right. And really, remember I said this, the downhill cutbacks on outside zone will be what hurts the Bills if they get hurt, because the interior D-line play and the linebacker play has not been great.
And that's exactly what you saw earlier in the season when they got dog walk by Atlanta, with their
right.
running. Yeah.
It's the one cut. It's the, hey, the shades cut off, or, what have you. And these guys aren't real quick inside for Buffalo. So, I would imagine that some early down run stunts, trying to fill these front side A's and just survive that way. But I think this is going to be a relatively good football game. I do. And honestly, I feel like it's an over.
Really?
I do. I don't know what the number is, but it's probably not high enough. I bet it's like mid 40s.
47.5.
Really? I got 41.5 on my notes, but
really?
I trust Nolan more.
This is per BetMGM.
BetMGM, which also means that they think, well, whether Aaron plays or not, I still like the number. And then you've got the Niners Browns game, which I think is going to be interesting.
Well, the reason we're all stoked about that game is because Myles Garrett, right? I mean, that's, for me personally, at least, like, I just want to know. I want him to get that record so bad, man. This dude has 18 sacks. Okay. That's incredible. We're entering week 13 here. And I'm just very curious to see how much offensive creativity Shanahan comes up with to neutralize Myles Garrett. It's wild to me to think we're at a point with a player on the Browns where everyone is just, like, offensively, the opposing teams are doing every single thing they can to chip him, slow him down with screens and everything like that. And that's kind of what I'm stoked about. I want him to get that record, man.
I think it's the crosstown traffic, man. I think it's zone, it's outside zone, it's motion, it's it's like they are going to try to create a circumstance where it slows him down and it has him thinking.
And we played in that scheme, and it's fun to see, the principles of Jim Schwartz wide nine defensive scheme. And the way teams would attack us when he was with us in Philly, they still hold true, years later. And it's either you see a lot of duo, you see a lot of outside zone. How, like, for a while, Shanahan was doing that stuff with Trent Williams where he's like bringing him all the way across and murder someone.
Oh, yeah. That was
curious
fun
to see if that shows its face in the game to try to slow him down. And then obviously, like what you talked about with, the outside run games in the passing game where you just rip a ball outside the numbers. To try to, slow down your edge rushers and stuff like that. I would expect a lot of that. Even like a bunch of duo, as boring as that is, it's a good way to slow down a rusher like Myles Garrett.
Listen, and I think the most this is the most interesting thing about this game to me is Christian McCaffrey's, outside of Myles Garrett, is Christian McCaffrey's usage. He is leading the league in target or touches this year. Is that true?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yep.
Some crazy amount of touches. Okay, I don't have the numbers, but like this is honestly off of everything he dealt with last year. Like double Achilles tendonitis, was a PCL. He had
apparently has the most rushing attempts, 221 attempts.
Wow.
And I call him the coal miner because they use him like he's a fucking coal miner, and he doesn't get any shifts off. Like this guy's got the black lung for having played for Kyle Shanahan because this dude does not care that he's had injuries in the past. They use him like none of this stuff has happened. Okay. Now I think with all the injuries that they had this year, the most impressive thing is that they've kept him upright, knock on wood. Now, to me, that's the most impressive thing I've seen since Adrian Peterson coming back from an ACL that happened in December in 2011. And in 2012, he won the damn MVP and ran for 2,000 yards. This is in that hemisphere for me. It's, this would be the most impressive thing I've seen off an injury since then. Just the volume of touches he's had is unbelievable. And obviously in this game, Shedeur Sanders is playing. And so this is going to be a big story. I thought last week, Vegas bringing pressure, not protecting, not containing the quarterback's ball hand side, him getting outside and making that throw. It just buys them so much excitement. Cleveland, there's so much excitement in the building probably right now. He's the first rookie.
That's what it is, man. I mean, we didn't break down the Browns game super in depth on Monday, but to me, there wasn't enough of a body of work to really talk about Shedeur that much. I mean, he was 11 for 22. I don't know. I mean, I'm excited to see him play against the 49ers defense that has been tragically reduced, from injury, and we'll see how he plays.
Dude, and that's where I am. I think some of the takes have been so hyperbolic this week. It's fucking insane. But I don't blame the takes on the player. I'm not going to take the takes out on the player. I'm just going to watch the player. And I was happy for him getting a win. And if he gets a second one against this football team, that'd be pretty damn impressive. Because you know what Saleh had going on Monday night? Those young football players that he's coaching in San Francisco played up in a big spot. They're 8-4. They are. It's pretty impressive.
Specific to this matchup, the Niners, they rank 30th in pressure rate through this point in the season. So Shedeur and this offense will have some time to work.
Going to be clean. And then the other one for me is obviously Houston and Indy is a big game. Huge swing for Houston, win or lose. 26% in the playoffs with a loss, 63% with a win. And you could be within a game of Indy. Who would have thought at this point in the season,
even grinding it out, man.
Davis Mills providing them with a lot of stability. Obviously, CJ Stroud, when he gets back, is the quarterback. Davis Mills is talking like that. And it's not going to be this week, is it?
As of yesterday, CJ is still in concussion protocol.
Yeah, which could be a soft, not a benching, but hey, we're going to make sure you're 200% before we get you back in this game. And that concussion is definitely lingering a little bit, but I think Houston, to me, if you're Houston in this game, God, what is the key to winning this? I think it's running the football. I think it's
it's stopping the run defensively.
Well, sure, but I think they're going to keep the points down. Now, Houston doesn't play as well on the road. Houston generally, I think they have one road victory this year. I expect them to keep the points down. I expect them to affect Daniel Jones. I expect them, because they're catching this offense at a time where they look a little bit off kilter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think that remains the case.
To that point, I think that's a little bit of a case of, week, what the fuck week are we in? 13 now. And, against a division opponent, teams know exactly who the Colts are offensively and have kind of seen the playbook on how to stop them. And I feel like from the Colts, I'd like to see a little bit more, just some change up, a little bit more creativity offensively. Obviously, what they're doing has been working. What are they, 9-3 or something like that? Fuck, I probably looked.
8-3.
They're 8-3. They produce a ton of points offensively at earlier points in the season, and it feels like that slowed down a lot. And that's why I think teams know how to stop them. So I'd like to see them get a little more creative offensively, ride your bell cow, JT. But I don't know. Let's see you do something a little different too.
What's going on right now is teams have chin checked the quarterback. Yeah. They have brought the old Danny Dimes out in him a little bit. I'm not saying he's the same player. I'm not. This is a much better offense. He seems to be in a better headspace. But 2 weeks ago, you had 6 turnover football game.
Yeah.
Week 10, you had a game where they didn't convert a third down until late in the football game.
Last week in pivotal moments, they had 4 3-and-outs in a row,
and the blitz.
Yeah.
And so, Houston's not going to have to blitz.
No.
It's going to be rushing coverage, which I think is a really interesting one because of all the teams they've faced. I don't think there's been a bigger rushing coverage. I mean, back to the Rams game possibly. Or Broncos game week 2 where they shredded a lot of man coverage. Like they got to look like that. They have to beat man coverage and you have to block these edges. And that's why I think for Houston or for Houston's offense with Buckner being out, you can run the football in this group, and you can control the clock. That would be, you remember that Denver game at Houston where Houston and, the whole game, if they just get in the red zone and score touchdowns, which is a big if, they would have ran away with that football game. They were possessing the football, they were driving the football, and then they would fizzle out in the red zone. And partially because they haven't been a great running football team. And so I think, to me, it's about moving the sticks and controlling the clock. And the same thing Kansas City did last week. It is about converting on third down. And to me, the way you get into third and manageable is being able to run the football or being able to replace your rundowns with easy completions early in sets of downs so that Davis Mills can stay on the field. That to me is it. It's 3 plays at a time. That's how you beat this team. You keep the offense off the field and hope that you force some turnovers. So, but that'll be a good football game Sunday. And then lastly, I want to point out a couple things like Vikings Seahawks could be a banger.
That's what I was gonna say.
If only Sam Darnold playing for both teams.
Yeah, just like Turkey Bowl, like every down quarterback, all-time quarterback, whatever you say in the backyard when you're playing. That's going to be an interesting game to monitor too. And like I was very critical of JJ on our Monday show, and got some shit from a lot of my buddies who are Vikings fans.
What did they say?
Have they watched the games?
Well, one of my buddies I played high school football with, like no context, just texted me. I gotta find this. It was so great. It was just a link to a YouTube video titled "Film Doesn't Lie, the Media Does," and it was every single breakdown of all of JJ McCarthy's throws from the game against the Packers. Now,
that guy that made them must be not the media.
I watched the YouTube video. I still left feeling the same way, But I mean, he is in. There's a couple of interesting storylines for this game. Obviously, Darnold, the one that got away for the Vikings. But I know JJ McCarthy is in concussion protocol. Do we have any updates on that, Noel?
No, I think it's going to be Brosmer, dude. This is a perfect.
And that's what I'm excited about.
And so it is exciting because you get to find out a little bit more about what they have. Man, exactly. if going back to the San Francisco thing, you know what San Francisco is so good at? The thing they've been best at over the last 5-7 years. You want to know what it is?
Next man up.
Their second quarterback. And the way Purdy looked the other night,
yeah.
Some of those balls were so late and so underthrown. Certainly it could be rust, but like physically, the ball looks different coming off Mac Jones' hand. Minnesota needs to find that number 2 quarterback.
Yep.
And maybe it's this Brosmer guy because JJ ain't it right now, and that's okay. Like, it's nothing personal. The NFL is really fucking hard. Playing quarterback in the NFL is one of the hardest things in professional sports. If you're not a great pro quarterback, we're not calling the guy a shitbag or something. We just say he's not a good player right now.
I'd like to see him play better.
He's holding his team back. He's holding his team back, and we got out over our skis. The funniest one to me is like, I love football fans. The football fans that use false equivalents, like on the regular, to prove a shitty point are my favorite. Like Vikings fans that are like, isn't it ironic you're forgetting Sam Darnold? I'm like, Sam Darnold was drafted to the Jets organization. Okay? JJ McCarthy was drafted to the Vikings. They have 2 number 1 receivers. One of them happens to be like one of the best 3 receivers in the NFL. They've built an offensive lineup that's pretty good. You got 2 starting quality tackles. You've got an offensive guru as a head coach. You have a solid defense. Like,
You have a great D coordinator, in my opinion.
those two things couldn't be further from the truth. Like, they're just not the same. And so, like, it is troubling that JJ hasn't looked great so far this year. And so I do want to see somebody else play quarterback for them. And maybe it's just a circumstance lets that happen this week.
Yeah. And then, I mean, even in that game, I'm excited to see, JSN and JJF. Like, those are two premier. I think those are, two of the best 3 wide receivers, at least 2 of my favorite in the NFL. Fun to watch. JJF hasn't played as well this year. I think we all kind of, we just kind of said why. But yeah, and I like the Seahawks. I know you're not as high on the Seahawks as I am, Chris, but like I want to see them, win the NFC West. Like I know you didn't expect that, but
yeah, no,
I'd like to see them, and it feels like the Rams are going to run away with it, but I still think that they're a really good team, and I just think they're fun to watch too.
Maybe I end up being right.
That'd be crazy.
I also think this game's a good litmus test for, when Darnold had that stinker a few weeks ago against the Rams. It was the middle pressure that became a theme, and that goes back to the end of last season. The Vikings are going to generate a lot of that in this game, so let's see if he learned from his mistakes.
I'm excited to see Darnold against B-Flow's defense, because he's obviously very familiar with it.
Yeah, I feel like this is a Vikings cover spot if the backup quarterback plays, like 100%.
Yeah,
it's just, you got to understand, like, KOC and Flo are, like, it's important that they look good Sunday, right? Because it's an NFL football game and they're coaching in it, but like, they want to bury their mistake.
Right.
Their mistake was Sam Darnold. They put a baby in a basket and he became like the most famous, awesome person in the world. And they're like, man, fuck, dude, we should never put the baby in the basket, but we're going to destroy him.
Even Daniel Jones, man, it's like you watch those two walk away and have great seasons on winning football teams, and then you trade up and get JJ McCarthy. And
the last game I want to mention is Atlanta, New York. Is this the week that Raheem Morris gets let go? Because I feel like this is the prime kind of game that the Falcons lay an egg in. Interesting background. Glenn and Morris crossed paths when Morris was an interim with the Jets, and Glenn was the starting corner. They've also been head-to-head in some head coaching opportunities. So I'm sure they respect each other, but this is a game where Aaron Glenn might end the Raheem Morris era in Atlanta, and I'm sure a lot of people would be okay with that. But it does feel like the seat is like nuclear hot. Now, Ulbrich, this is mainly the point I wanted to make. He is doing a fantastic job with the defense, especially the pass rush. Okay, I just mean it's not his fault, and I hope he winds up on his feet somewhere, because 5 sacks in 4 straight games, first time in franchise history.
Those are Myles Garrett numbers.
Yeah, right, exactly. I saw this graphic of all the rushers behind this 5 sacks in 4 straight games deal, which is a big deal. It seems like one of those cherry pick stats, but when you think about it, it's actually a big deal. It's first time in franchise history, and it's not that many times it's actually happened in the NFL. So they had this graphic with all the who's who of Falcons rushers. And I would bet you that nationally, if you walk that graphic up to 10 sports fans, they couldn't name more than 2 of those rushers.
I wouldn't be able to.
Leading that group in sacks.
Can I guess one?
Yeah.
John Abraham?
No. I'm talking about on their current team.
Oh, current team. I thought you were saying like all-time Falcons.
No, who's who of Atlanta rushers. I mean, there are some great Atlanta rushers in the past. 2016, Vic Beasley's up there. But since, it's not been great. But they get this big fucking poster. Brandon Dorless is leading your group in sacks.
Wow.
The rookies have come on. They got 4 or 5 sacks apiece. They barely blitzed last week, and they racked up a ton of pressures and affected the quarterback. My point is, Ulbrich deserves some love, but this might be a bad week for the Falcons and for Raheem Morris if they lose this game. The other games, I'm not as interested in.
Yeah,
it's not. Can we, because we're not putting these picks on the gambling show this week. Green Bay, Detroit. I like Green Bay. And Nolan, you mentioned the under. I think the under is a good play here.
Yep. 48.5 per BetMGM.
Oh, come on. I like that.
I like the Lions
You
actually.
like Lions? Okay.
Yeah, I think they're gonna cover. Yeah, I like the Lions.
Okay.
Honestly. I think Gibbs and I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is gonna fucking pop off.
Kansas City, Dallas. I liked your over. I liked your over in this game. I also, they're hanging the hook on the with the 3.5. And so it makes it a tough play. The public is all over the Cowboys. Shocker.
It's down to 3 right now on BetMGM.
Okay, we're down to 3
Really? What's the total points?
52 points.
Really?
points, bro. It's
Yeah.
points. It's a lot of
I
points.
would love that. I mean, I get it. The
I'm
Cowboys.
inevitably doing. It's the most unsound thing in the world, but I'm inevitably doing like a Packers, Chiefs teaser, which is the dumbest shit in the world. You're supposed to.
I'm on the Chiefs in this game. I just feel like their backs against the wall, and they know that if they lose this, the playoffs are just kind of just fading away.
If you subscribe to conspiracy theories, there have been reports this week Chiefs Cowboys going to be the most watched regular season game ever. The league wants this to be a shootout.
Yeah,
I don't want fans turning the game off.
I would bet. You got to think this is a Travis Kelce anytime touchdown kind of game.
Bro, I love that conspiracy. I did hear, this is going to be, and that the most watched NFL game of all time is crazy, dude.
That is nuts.
It's like we replaced all those people who boycotted football. It must be all the new babies that were born in Cap.
Yeah, what happened to the people who stopped watching?
You took a break. And then Chicago, Philly, man, I think that's an over. That feels like an over to me.
What's the points for that?
44.5. It feels like an over to me.
I would love an over. Yeah. I'm thinking like 28, 17.
And the 7-point spread. I feel like that's a Bears cover spot all day long.
I'm not sold on the Bears, man. And listen, I want the Bears to succeed so bad, and I love watching Caleb Williams. I really like Ben Johnson. I've been impressed with the way they've managed to pull out victories from their fucking ass cheeks. I just think, against a defense like this, I don't think they're gonna do that. Who knows? I also really want the Eagles to win and put the offensive struggles to bed.
I just don't want to hear Nate on Monday talking about the Eagles.
Who do the fucking Jags play? God, it's nice. We haven't even talked about them.
The Titans.
They're gonna lose this weekend. They're playing the Titans. Who, by the way, Cam Ward's tape last week.
It was nice.
This is where the Shador stuff gets me. Yeah. When I see a graphic that says
that was crazy.
You know the graphic I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about. No. You said it in the chat.
You said it in the chat. We'll find it.
Yeah, I sent it in the chat. It goes, Shador Sanders only needed one start to equal the wins that Cam Ward has had.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, same amount of career wins.
Do what you gotta do, but don't do it with my guy Cam Ward. Don't do it with my guy Cam Ward.
Is this your new Prince? What's like a good little nickname for Cam Ward? We can come up with something.
My one of my favorite lines from the pre-draft process was again Nate Tice. Nate Tice had a comp for Cam Ward. He said Rodney Mullen, the skateboarder, just speaking to the creativity with which he plays. That's outstanding.
Bro, I used to love Rodney Mullen, and Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 is my favorite guy to use. That's a great comp. I love that.
That's hilarious, man.
Yeah.
Rodney Mullen, 60 years old now.
Hey, while we're talking some pop culture stuff, Chris, you usually nip my pop culture references in the bud. But I want to give a quick shout out to Robert Irwin. He won Dancing with the Stars last night. Alex Earl was the runner-up. I personally wanted Robert Irwin to take home the cake, and my girlfriend was rooting for Alex Earl. Honestly, I kind of got really into that show, and it was different. It was fun. I liked it. So,
who's Alex Earl?
Alex Earl, she's dating Braxton Berrios. You know who that is?
Oh, is she famous? That's what I'm gonna say. And who's Irwin?
Robert Irwin, Steve Irwin's son.
Okay, all right, I know him.
Yeah, you should. Steve
I
Irwin.
know him. Who else is on Dancing with the Stars?
Andy Richter was phenomenal. Andy
Andy
Richter was so good. He was my favorite.
Andy Richter, not Andy.
Andy Richter, yep. You know Andy Richter.
I do
Al
know.
Girl's like a social media star, like kind of the it girl of TikTok right now. Who
I
else?
thought you were the it girl on TikTok.
I'm an IG hoe. Come on now.
All right. Yeah, shout out to Irwin.
Hey, I bet you Meg was watching.
No,
No?
no, we're all grown up here.
Just
We
ripping, 13 games a week of football. Huh?
We got a ton
No
of
time for
kids.
Dance with the Stars.
Ton of kids. Whole boatload. One of them
People
has
like it, Chris.
Yeah.
All right. It's cool.
Luke. Happy birthday, Luke. And hey, one more time, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Happy Thanksgiving to our esteemed staff. We pump out a lot of football content, and that goes for not just the guys that talk a lot like Beau or Nate, but also the people who don't talk as much, like Nolan, who does a lot of hard work behind the scenes to get ready for every Monday, where it's like, man, we've got all these fucking games. Nolan's back there working as hard as anybody, and the same goes for Cowboy Reed and Tanner and those dudes behind the machine. Charlie been working his ass off as well. I don't know, Aiden, Ralph, the whole crew, Brian. So who else do we need to shout out? Macon. I didn't even mention Macon. Sometimes he's Stanford Steve. And Brooke, my assistant, because I wanted to. It's not all men.
Yeah. Shout out to you, Chris.
Thank you. I appreciate
shout yourself out.
No, I mean,
thankful for our fearless leader.
No, that's not true. I'm not fearless, dude. I'm scared shit. This job.
I'm scared of frying that turkey. That was my question for you, Chris. Where'd you get this turkey from?
I sent Brooke to grab one. So
you didn't go. You didn't go to the
didn't use the fact
too late to get a Kelly Bronze. I'm afraid if I ask Nate, he's gonna be like, "Bro, is it too late?" Anybody know?
I don't know.
Yeah, they're sold out.
Anyways, the moral of the story is I'm not always easy to work for, and I fucking drive a hard. I don't know what the. If it was 1883, I'm Tim McGraw, dude, and I'm sorry for pushing you guys so hard sometimes, but you guys do a fantastic job. I think
you could work me harder.
Yeah, I love our group, man. So we'll keep pushing on. I'm thankful for y'all, and I'm thankful for the listeners, man. This isn't always a labor of love, and you guys, you keep us accountable. We really do hope that you guys enjoy the show and that you walk away saying, hey, we're thankful for this show because they're not full of shit and they actually watch the games. That's our only goal, and we're thankful that you keep showing up. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and don't go to Best Buy on Friday. Wait for Cyber Monday, dude. It's the scum of the earth out there.
I'm going to Micro Center. Do you know what that is?
What is that?
Dude, it is like the digital playground. Like I'm getting some monitors for my new podcasting and PC gaming setup.
Digital playground.
It is fucking awesome, dude. It's like Best Buy on steroids, but it's like very, specific PC monitors and components and cables and controllers and keyboards and peripherals and headphones. And I see you yawning, but it's fucking sick.
Complicated.
Yeah, I know you don't know.
This is what Amazon's for. Stay inside.
I gotta see the monitors in person, Yeah, I want to know how that P Hub's gonna pull up on there.
You got a little Milton in you, dude.
I like the game, I like to have good little gaming stuff.
I like to see the monitors.
I want to see the monitors, the pixels, Chris. The pixels. You can game in 4K these days. It's kind of tight. It's kind of sick.
What else? See the article now. Yeah. Man watching P Hub in the Micro Center.
Man.
Yeah. Former NFLer.
No, that's what the public library is for.
All right, we got to go, y'all. It's my son's birthday, and you were supposed to be gone 30 minutes ago, Beau, so appreciate you staying.
Yeah, of course, dude.
Take care, everybody.